All right, so what I want to do today is go through a process of showing you how easy it is to assist with moving your on-premise workload into the cloud. So that's the user interface for our on-premise MoWeb HPC scheduler. So now I want to submit some workload from here, so you can do it from the user interface. You can use the CLI as well. And within this environment, you'll notice that I've got a job over here that says burst into the cloud from on-prem using OCI cluster. So I'm going to select this, and this is a script, as I mentioned, that's going to run multiple job submissions. And I'm going to go ahead and say, great. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see that because it is seen as one script, it will show this as a one job that's actually submitting, although it will change. It will submit my workload. All right, so now it's submitted and we can go straight into our workload environment where it shows me what's happening. Right, now, as I mentioned, so on-premise, this is my job that's actually showing, that's my script that kicked off. And now I've got my 4 jobs that are running on-premise. This is user CNTOS. And now you'll see that they have gone into an active state. So they have been allocated against my on-premise resources, each one requiring 4 cores or 16 cores. And I've got my 8 user jobs. So you'll see user 1 up to 8 that also submitted workload. Each one of these jobs require 1 core and 1 node. So my scheduler on-premise have now allocated my on-prem resources, meaning it's filled up my on-premise hardware. And now I've got 8 users also submitting workload. So rather than waiting for an hour for this to finish or for a day or for a few days, these have now been allocated or bursted into the cloud. You'll notice that it goes into a block state. And the reason for that is we put it into a suspended state because where it's going to run on my clustering on-demand data center, my compute nodes still needs to be deployed. So let's go ahead and have a look at my on-demand data center side. Now, first of all, you'll notice that now I've got 8 jobs queued, right? Previously there were 0, so my on-premise jobs that were looking for a resource have now been bursted into the cloud onto my OCI cluster that's running in Ashburn, and they will remain in a queued state, right? Because remember I mentioned my nodes were in a down state. And now we're actually busy deploying these 2 compute nodes. So on-demand data center has got a burst cycle that we check our queue, minus set to every 60 seconds. Jobs came in, say, all right, okay, so now we need to look after this and we're going to start up these compute nodes. Now, as I mentioned, each one of these jobs require 1 core, 1 node, right? And between my 2 compute nodes on this cluster, there's 8 cores. So we're going to utilize all 8 of them. Typically takes 2 to 3 minutes for a compute node to deploy. Process that we follow, in the beginning they were down. Now we're actually busy deploying them. So you'll see on the left-hand side. And then the nodes goes into available state. And remember, I've got a burst cycle. So then with the next cycle, which is every 60 seconds, that workload in my queue will be allocated and my 2 nodes will go into a busy state. So as soon as that's in the busy state, then all my workload will go into a running state and my compute nodes will be busy. And obviously, as soon as my workload has been taken care of, it goes back into available state. Now, you'll notice while I was talking, my 2 nodes went into a busy state, meaning they were made available and it's been allocated against my workload. We can see over here that all my jobs are now in a running state. All 8 of them. Both my compute nodes have been deployed and now they're busy. So we're going to take care of this workload and then we go back into available state. And as I mentioned, now let's have a quick look at my workload over here. Now you'll notice that previously these ones were in a block state. Now they're active because the communication went back to my MoWeb scheduler saying, well, listen, okay, my compute nodes have been deployed. So these bottom 4 that has got a user of CentOS are running on-premise, and I've set these to run for an hour. These are all my user jobs that have now been submitted. You'll actually see that it shows a different user, and that's my on-demand data center user. And so all of them are now active. And if we look at our node list, you'll see that all my nodes are actually now utilized. They're busy. So we can look at our on-prem node. We can look at one of my compute nodes. So let me just drill down in one of these, all from your Moab viewpoint environment. We'll see that over here it says that it's the resource manager's ODC, meaning from Moab to ODC is actually being communicated bidirectionally. And over here we can see which of my jobs are running against a specific node. And obviously if you go back, we can look at each one of these. And as I mentioned that, you can constantly keep an eye on this. So you've got to, as an administrator, you want to maybe keep your eye on this as it's running. You can have a look at the workload from my on-premise environment using the Moab user interface. And keep in mind, whatever you see over here is all available on the CLI from Moab, as well as my on-demand data center. All right, so let's have a look again at my on-demand data center environment. All right, so let's have a look at our cluster, how it's currently running. It's possible that my jobs have started completing. We can see that our nodes are available. So if I look at my queue, all my 8 jobs I now have completed, right? You'll see it's no more running, all done. And we can look at my nodes. Currently it's available. Now, in the meantime, we can have a look at our on-premise environment. Workload, you'll see all my 8 jobs have now completed, and my other on-premise jobs are still running. Remember, I set this to run for an hour. Now, if we go back to our on-demand data center, you'll notice that now, after being available for 2 minutes, no more workload. Now we're moving into an offline state, and now we're actually busy destroying them. Now you'll see it's done. So now our whole process is done. Workload is taken care of. Everything's sorted out.